DR.STONE looks outstanding. Its final look is so good it's almost elusive how seamlessly Boichi uses digital methods to enhance his work. It's a perfect combo. Now, this is a hell of a risky video for me to make. Some of you already know why, but for those who don't, Boichi is a Korean manhwa artist turned mangaka. Basically the same profession but different names. Now, his rise to fame and rise artistically started with explicit works of the adult variety. Like a game of chess, his career was about the pawn, if you know what I mean. Here is an image of two things. That's the kind of topic we're dealing with today. His first ever manga, Lovers in Winter, was such a work. But to be genuine for a second, Boichi's anatomical understanding was not only perfect from the very beginning, but his own sense of style was present from the outset too. It's important to remember that he's 50 years old because he's come to prominence more recently, but there's this whole plethora of stories behind him with plenty of his development happening away from finished pages. He always wanted to be an artist from childhood. He studied physics at college, which explains some of his later manga and the absurd wealth of relevant knowledge he has in that regard. But then he also went on to graduate from image technology. As he's grown, he's assembled a vast skill set that makes achieving this childhood dream all the more impressive. Back in these first mangas like Lovers in Winter, No Means No, and Personal Lessons Full of Love, the 3D element is more transparent. The backgrounds, the kind of afterthought you'd expect in a manga like this. They're all practically CG, and the characters stand by themselves. Its look almost reminds me of Gantz by Hiroya Oku, who also used a balance of these styles for his more crude origins. It's ironically a pretty sound way to get experience with anatomical drawings and how the human body moves, because it's practically on display the whole time. There aren't any hatchings or effects save for the background. It's a clear look at the early start to Boichi's character drawing, and a great point to take a look now at DR.STONE. Characters have hatching, digital shadows, and a shifting line density, which, like so many other mangaka, shows us how well Boichi transferred to digital production. The edges of characters' hair have such slight effects, but when there's a composition with a fair few of them on page, it's the little artistic choices which complement the whole. DR.STONE is a perfect amalgam of Boichi's development, culminating into a fairly educational manga that looks lush, teams with style, and champions the message it holds dear. It's a manga about the evolution of humans, really, so what better of a way to define a career than to be his most successful series? The colour pages for this manga are some of the most beautiful blends of colour onto this style that Boichi's done. Where Sunken Rock had largely portrait-style volumes, DR.STONE experiments with foregrounds and backgrounds which enhance the composition of the piece. It really is just a manga where everything came together. I think one of the best skills Boichi has, and this is just as apparent in Sunken Rock and DR.STONE from beginning to end, but his eye for symmetry is immense. The eyes for these characters and the angles of close-ups are downright impressive. That the facial structure of someone with an impossible shaped skull can be drawn to such a degree and look as good as it does here is just crazy. It's the fact that Boichi just captures every type of drawing with such ease. The close-ups are just as impressive as the far back double spreads. The backgrounds are just as beautiful as the layouts of his comedic moments. Boichi just seems to be a really deeply skilled artist all around. His style is more of a semi-realistic comic one, reminiscent of what Sin City's visuals evoke. The muscles are sinewy, the shadows are strong, and drawn as though the contrast is ramped up. Characters can sometimes only be seen partially. Then he contrasts all of this with anime hair that's crazy, the kind that doesn't get affected at all by the combat or action that's taking place. It's a cool touch, and one that not every realistic looking manga goes for. DR.STONE was a weekly Shonen Jump magazine production, so it's even crazier to see that this is Boichi when he has to pump out content. This is the lesser detailed work he puts out. After having finished his most successful work thus far, you can see how his work looks when he spends more time on it, as he's gone on to do a One Piece spin-off, which I've talked about before. Go and check out the artistic evolution of One Piece if you want to see me talk a bit about that. From this to doing a spin-off of the most famous manga in existence, if that's not the mangaka dream, then I don't know what is. In the last artistic evolution I covered Trigun, which also got a one-shot from Boichi. And so he's consolidated his growth by branching out to the fans of other series. And it works really well for him because, as a fan of Trigun, I remember picking up Multiple Bullets when I was a little kid and going, wow, who is this and how am I just finding out about him now? The One Piece Ace manga, which is still ongoing, has taken the volume covers even further, with effects and characters in a unison that spiritually succeeds even DR.STONE. It's a perfect manga to spin off from really, as One Piece couldn't look any more different from Boichi's style to begin with. with a purposefully less anatomical style for our favourite rubber boy, and a world where wacky powers have come to define the people in it. It's perfect to take a fairly grounded character like Ace and make him a Boichi protagonist, because he embodies a lot of Boichi's style more than any other character. His career itself has ironically evolved not too dissimilar to a game of chess, to be honest. His pawn, the lowest of pieces, has transformed into a queen, his more lewd work turning into a much more varied career, having achieved fame through his own storytelling and art. Even then though, I think it's crazy how proficient he was from the outset, with his overall style of character design pretty much established over 20 years ago. Like, half of the time, this video series ends on a positive and encouraging note for those aspiring to develop themselves and grow as an artist. But here I just kind of feel sorry that I can't really end a video like that. Like, Boichi was born to do this. The anime adaptation of DR.STONE even got an advertisement on Times Square. With the manga over and his profile bigger than ever, there's one last point I want to touch on: his true origins. When I was doing research for this video, I stumbled on an interview where Boichi revealed that he never even read Shonen Jump until the age of 21. The reason why was because his family was poor. He never could afford it. He tried to borrow books from friends, but he never actually got his hands on manga until years after. The only thing I can surmise is that being raised in poor surroundings and being held back for as long as he had, Boichi's restrained talents and insane work ethic is a result of years of not being able to do any of these things. There's definitely a fascinating story there, one that's not fully available, but Boichi's story and evolution is one of talent finally breaking through and deserving every bit of success he has coming to him. One of the quotes in this interview really shone a light on this. "I came to Japan by myself, and I have survived this very serious, fierce competition to get to today. I really worked hard, and I always think about what I can do to make this world a better place to live in. I would like to help aspiring manga artists. I think about that all the time." Thanks very much for watching, and thanks especially to my patrons. They get early access to every video, script, and even a couple Patreon exclusive videos. If you want to join their numbers, you can do so for a single $1 a month, but thank you for watching, comment your thoughts down below, like the video, subscribe for more, thank you everyone, and have a wonderful night.